project is how to make a dog's raincoat out of a child's raincoat. So in this case, I have a child's raincoat with a really cute pattern on it. Love the lizards. I think they are so sweet. I love the pockets because I think one pocket on the back would be perfect. I'm a bit stumped with the zipper, but I'm going to look at some alternatives to try and figure out how to make this. This particular child's jacket is a size 4. I'm going to make this for about a 20-pound dog. What I'm going to do is I want a zipper or other kind of closure in the front, and then along the back, what I'm going to do for the dog is have probably mostly this panel, and see if I can put one of those pockets along the back, hole for harness. I am not going to make a full hood for the dog, and the reason for that is my dog doesn't really like hoods. I think some dogs might, he doesn't. So instead what I'm going to do is make a bit of a flip up collar and no sleeves, because I think they constrict movement a little bit and it's really not cold enough to need them. And with that, we'll see where we go. So first step in making anything upcycled is to deconstruct it. So now I have the two front pieces. Oh, it's even cuter on the other side. Oh my goodness. I might do a change of plan. What if the other side's waterproof? I might run a little test and just see how the waterproofing works on this. No, I think it's a plastic coating on the outside. Yeah, look at that. That is so cute. Here's the back piece, there's the hood. Just to keep things a little bit cleaner, I'm going to put the hood right out of the way. It's usually kind of my last choice of things to use. Okay, this is my pattern. It's available on my website. I'll put a link in the bio. And let's just think about this. Typically, it makes the most sense, usually, with dogs, to use the biggest piece, the child's back, as the back for the dog as well. There's a crease in it. We'll just have to be careful for that. And you just have to move it around until you can find where it's going to fit. I'm going to pin and cut that later, but that'll be my back piece. And then for my front, a little bit trickier. I think we might have a little less fabric to use than usual. The front is going to have a closure. It's going to have some means of getting it on and off for the poor dog. And to do that, I think I may use these snappers. You can recycle snappers. That's actually pretty easy. They're like buttons. What I'll do, give this a try, and remove the zipper, keep the snappers, and see if I can't make a go of that. Backup plan, if this doesn't work out, is I'm going to take one of these arms, open it up. I shall open them up right now and just see if it's big enough. Open up one of the arms and use the arm fabric instead. Sometimes you have to be a little creative. Material you're using may be damaged or worn, and you just have to roll with it. See, the arm, if you open it up, has more than enough fabric. And if I wanted to get fancy and keep all these lizards going the right direction, oh gosh, I think I'm okay. Some are right side up, some are upside down. All right, so we're fine. But that would be my alternative if I can't get the snapper idea to work out. I've gone and cut out the back piece. That's it right there. See the fabric? I've gone and cut it and pinned it both layers together. On the front piece, I did a little sort of looking at my options, and what I decided to do was to cut out the zipper. So this is the edge where the zipper used to be, and I've literally just gone in there with a pair of scissors and cut out the zipper part. Cut out the very top tab, and what I'm left with is a clean edge and two snappers that hold it together. Snapper here, snapper here. Snappers are really cute. If this doesn't work, if for some reason it doesn't size out right, or the snappers aren't in the right place, the snappers are here and here, what I really need is a snapper right here. I may put a button right there in the middle. I can always go back to my sleeve and do it again with the sleeve and just start kind of fresh. So next thing I'm going to do is I am going to start preparing some of the edges. I think the first thing is looking at the back. My goal with the back is to have a pocket. So I'm going to unpin this, take it apart, sew the pocket onto the back, right about there, and then put the back piece and the back together by finishing off the edge seam. So I have attached the pocket onto the back. So the way I did that is I cut out one of these pockets. I left a good amount of seam allowance around it, and then sewed it on directly by tucking under the sides. Once I did that, then I put the two good sides together for the back so that I could finish off the bottom. I considered pressing this just to give it a nice and neat finish, but in looking really closely at this fabric, I am pretty sure it has some sort of plasticized waterproofing on it, which means if I iron it, I will probably melt it or damage the fabric in some way. So I'm just doing my best here without ironing, which is an interesting challenge. And here's my front piece. So what I'm going to do next, and you can see on the front piece, this is the two buttons that we had before that had the pattern on them before. That turned out really nice, actually, just cutting the zipper off. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to attach the two shoulder pieces, which are shoulder to shoulder and shoulder to shoulder. I am not going to do a nice finished edge like that because it's on the inside. It really doesn't bother the dog. He's quite happy. It doesn't seem to make any difference to him. And a little quicker than with the multiple layers. I now have the shoulders connected, and I took this moment to just test with my dog and make sure that this was going to be comfortable. He took the moment to stretch and roll around a little bit and let me know that in his opinion he needed some stretch. So I'm going to use a little bit of this ribbing right here in the stretch zone, right here to stretch out a little bit. I'm also going to use this ribbing at the end around the armholes just to sort of hold them in a bit and give it a nice finished look. So progress so far. I have put the ribbing on the sides, tested it out on my dog, found that he was a little more comfortable with that. He does a lot of high speed walking, it's a lot of running, so having a little bit of extra movement makes a coat a little more easy to wear. So the next thing I'm going to do, I have a couple more things left to do. One of them is to make the collar that I want to be able to fold up or fold down depending on the weather. So I'm going to make it about 2 inches wide. Finish off some of the seams here and here, put the ribbing around the armholes, and finish off the seam at the bottom. So to make the snapback collar, I'm going to use some of my extra fabric from the arms. This is not an exact science. I am just going to eyeball it. I looked at it on the dog. The collar is going to run from seam to seam. So the first thing I need is a piece of stray fabric. The other thing I want to do is I want this collar to be lizard fabric on both sides. So when it's down or when it's up, it looks the same. So I'm not going to use lining on this one. I'm just going to use plain fabric. Get that out of the way. This out of the way. And I'm going to even off my arm. Another thing about using upcycled clothing is you also have to take a good look for wear. And sometimes some parts of a garment are more worn than other parts. In this case, I'm going to just cut it right here. I said I wanted it about 2 inches on each side, so in total I want 4 inches. And I want a seam allowance, so that'll be 5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now in terms of width, I need this snapback collar to be with a bit of a seam allowance again, about there. Turn that back a little bit. And out there. I'm not putting any sizing or anything to make this stiffer. It's up against this neck. I want it to be soft and flexible. So it's going to be kind of a floppy collar. And the way I'm going to fasten this on, sew it on this side, finish the edges, flip it inside out, sew it on this side, flip it over, sew it down on the inside. So to repeat that so it makes sense, you start out this side, sew this seam and this seam, then still with the bad side out, take this piece that's going to attach to here and flip it over, attach it, flip it inside out, and Albert Einstein is quoted as saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. However, I'm happy with those results. So I'm going to take this collar now, flip it around, trim out that funny leftover piece of lining from the original coat, flip this over, push it all down. I have a little bit extra to sew on over here, do some fix-ups, do some evening out, so it's nice and even. And I'm going to put the ribbing around here, finish off the edges, and the next time you see this, it should look like a finished coat. So here it is, the finished product. So some of the features of this coat, I have a pocket on the back that was taken from the front of the coat, and it works. It works actually great. Have a little buttonhole that I've put in so that when the harness is on, it can feed through the coat. Some easement here and here so that when he's running around, he has it's not too constricting or it's not going to rub. Some of the other nice features, it is lined, so it makes it a little more comfortable. And it's got snapper closure here and here. So those are the original snappers from the coat. And remember, I've cut the zipper off very finely in there, and you would not even know that worked out. It's so good. So zipper closure here and here. Works like a darn. And snapback collar. So what I mean by snapback collar is the collar can be up, which is a little extra rain protection, or the collar can be down, which gets it out of the way and makes things a little easier for the head to move. Very pleased with that. And I'll put some pictures of the dog wearing the coat. And it looks really cute. Some of the things about this coat that I particularly like is that the coat's covering the main trunk of the body, because that's the part that gets wet, and then he comes in the house, and then he shakes, and I get water everywhere, so I want to protect that trunk of the body. And it's also protecting the chest area, because that's another area that gets terribly wet. It does not have sleeves. I did that on purpose because I can easily dry his legs off. That takes 2 seconds. And I find sleeves really get in the way and make for a bit of a tripping hazard and don't really function on anything more than a really quick stroll. And that's it. We've tested it. It's easy on, it's easy off. And for less than $5, this was, I think, a really good opportunity to get a coat for a dog. Thanks. One last thing. I have leftovers. I have a leftover hood. Actually, it's lined, which is nice. I have one pocket. And I have 2 sleeves, but there's one. So if you have any ideas about what I might want to do to match the coat, by all means, please put a comment in the video, and I look forward to seeing them. We may just make up something to do with leftovers at a later date if a good idea comes our way.